Good morning and welcome to a Thursday morning edition of Coffee with Curare. I'm Jerry Ramusak. I'm here with Ian Sons today, and today we're going to do something a little different, have a little fun with Coffee with Curare, and we're going to give you guys the opportunity to get to know Ian and I. What we've done today is we've come up with a few questions for each other. We don't know what the questions are yet, but they're basic interview questions. And we're just going to shoot back and forth and come from the hip and let you guys get to know us a little bit better as individuals and people and professionals. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to actually allow Ian to go first, which I'm kind of worried about.
Now, real quick, are we? I'm asking one question. You're asking one question. We're doing this.
Yeah, I think we should do this.
Okay, yeah, because I don't want it to be too one-sided.
Format,
okay.
Otherwise it'll be all one-sided.
Okay,
it'll be like you're interrogating me in court.
Well, there's a time and a place for that, which is not right now, but maybe. So I'm going to start with something that I think is usually first question when you meet somebody new. Mm-hmm. Kind of want to know a little bit about them. Where'd you grow up, Jerry? Tell us a little about where you came from.
Easy one. I grew up in the south suburbs of Chicago, Illinois, and a small little suburb called South Howland, Illinois. It is a community of churches, which we have a set of praying hands on our water tower, and as such, we are a Dutch community, and we had Sunday blue laws, a very unique situation there in South Howland, Illinois. All the stores were closed. Everything was closed on Sundays. You couldn't go to McDonald's. You couldn't go get gas.
Wow.
It was a really, really strange thing. I'm not sure if it's still going on like that because it went all the way up to the Supreme Court. The ACL got involved in everything. Got off the rails a little bit there, but that's where I grew up. It was really awesome. I loved growing up near Chicago because we could go into the city all the time whenever we wanted to. Went to a lot of Cubs and Sox games. My whole family is Sox fans, but I was the black sheep and was a Cubs fan. And really enjoyed living there because also being in the south suburbs, we're right by the Lake Michigan, you're right by Indiana. And if you've been watching Coffee with Curare for a while, you know I love to push Northwest Indiana as a place to practice and live. And it's still to this day an awesome place to live. I was just up in Valparaiso this past weekend for a family picnic. Valparaiso is about only 40 minutes from Chicago, but it's out in the middle of kind of nowhere, but it has a nice college in town, easy access to the lake. So that's where all my people live pretty much, up is in Northwest Indiana. My last name is unique, it's Ramusak, and I've always thought that every Ramusak in America was related to me. However, I found out this weekend at the family picnic, my aunt is a history professor at University of Cincinnati, and somebody contacted her. And there is another set of Ramusaks in the country that I only found out about this weekend that we are unrelated to. I don't believe it yet, but my aunt said it's 100% true. So that's that.
Need to show you the DNA proof.
Yeah, and family-wise, I've got one sister and two parents that are still living amongst us and doing great.
Wonderful.
They're both retired. I'm going to give you a little bit more of a curveball.
Okay, I'm ready.
And I think you'll like this one.
We'll see.
If you came with a warning label, what would it be?
It's real easy.
Uh-huh.
It's real easy actually because it's somewhat a motto I carry around in my personal life as well, mm-hmm. which is don't tell me what to do.
I could see that.
So if I was, I'm like a little action figure, it's like he's got the bendy arm, he's got, the kung fu leg, and then it's like, don't tell him what to do.
That's a great answer because it kind of plays into one of my next questions. If you don't mind, I'll just go
right ahead.
If you were a superhero, what superpower would you have?
That's a great question, and it's one that both of my children ask me on a very regular basis.
So you're ready for it.
Especially my son asks me probably 3 times a week what superpower I would choose. And I think most people likely would say something like flying or super strength or something like that. Me personally, I would want to be able to control people's thoughts. So I could have people do whatever I wanted.
This is a reoccurring theme with Ian. Don't tell me what to do, and I want to control your thoughts.
Hey, I think people are really getting to know the real me.
I like it. And those traits make you an excellent recruiter. You're really good at what you do, probably because of some of these things that you're answering with. All right, let's get back to me.
Okay, let's do that. So, one of the things I was curious about, Jerry, is, we talked a little bit about where you're from, kind of growing up. Is there anything from your childhood that you think has helped you with what you do here at Curare?
That's a tough one. I think a couple things stand out more than others, and one is being competitive. I was into sports at a very young age, and my parents introduced me to snow skiing. I skied, I raced on skis. I raced BMX bikes. I got into baseball. I took baseball really serious until I was probably halfway through high school when I discovered girls and partying. And I thought I was going to be the third baseman for the Cubs for a really long time, actually. And so I think being really competitive in sports, I took it seriously, man. I would sometimes cry when we lose, and I'd be maybe a little bit of a sore winner sometimes when we won. I was really competitive and took it super serious. So I think the competitive nature of sports, and then also I was a young entrepreneur. I delivered papers. At times I had enough paper routes that I was actually farming the workout to other kids. And I was also a golf ball salesman, where I would swim in the water holes and then come back to the golfers and sell the golf balls. And when I was 12 years old, I made the suggestion to my dad that I should start selling pop. And my dad, being enterprising as he is, he goes ahead and buys me beer. And so I'm selling beer and pop as a 12-year-old kid to golfers over a barbed wire fence. And so I think those two things, sports and just like being introduced to the opportunity to be entrepreneurial when I was young, like for the paper route, I actually had to go collect from the people's doors. And that was a lot of fun because you'd have some bad receivables sometimes that you have to deal with. And I was dealing with that as a young boy. And I learned how to deal with adverse situations and deal with them in a positive way where everybody comes out happy more times than not. So those were two things that I'd say from my youth, that shaped my job experience here at Curare, and why I've chosen to stay a physician recruiter for 20 plus years. This is a really tough industry, as we both know. A lot of people come and go from physician recruiting. Back to me?
Yeah, what do you got for me?
What did you want to be when you were a young boy?
Growing up, what I really wanted to do was design cars. Still really love cars. People who are my friends know that that's kind of my hobby. And so, very much into that. But as I got a little older, I learned more and more about what that would take to really be successful with it. I encountered two issues. Number one, I'm not a very good illustrator. Number two, I'm not particularly strong at math. Good enough to do what I need to do, but in learning more about car design, math and illustrating were key components, and that's kind of where I decided maybe that wasn't for me. And at that point in time, really started focusing more on music. And growing up, played the bass, both electric and acoustic, played drums for many years, and for a period of time thought I might be a musician and play in bands. But that's kind of what I was focused on originally when I was a kid.
You have great hair for a band.
I know. I mean, it's like all I need right now is, a backup band. I'm ready to hit the vocals hard and let this hair shine.
I'd buy a ticket.
Good thing. Good thing. All right. So, speed round, Jerry.
Speed round.
I'm going to hit you with a few quick questions, quick responses.
Okay.
It's kind of like one or the other.
Yep.
All right. Speed round. Pickles or peanuts?
Pickles.
Fish or Grateful Dead?
Grateful Dead.
Ooh,
wait, food fish or band fish?
No, band.
Oh,
this
Grateful
is music.
Dead. Grateful Dead.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought you meant could I eat fish or listen to the Grateful Dead? And I don't know if you guys know this, I like fish a lot. I like to eat fish. I'm having fish for lunch today. But I also love the Grateful Dead. If I had to choose between eating fish, and the Grateful Dead, it'd be a really hard choice. But the band Fish and the band Grateful Dead, it's not even a contest. Grateful Dead.
No. So what you're saying is, if you could eat fish while listening to the Grateful Dead,
I'm having the time of my life.
Excellent. Sweet or spicy?
Spicy.
Signing bonus or relocation? Trick question. It's both.
That's a good one, man. That's a good one. I like that.
All right, you got something for me?
I could go the same style. Best song for karaoke.
Believe by Journey.
That's a good one. If you could only eat one meal the rest of your life.
Tacos.
Man, we have a lot in common. Best gift you've ever been given.
I would say the love and affection of my children.
That's beautiful. How many pillows do you sleep with?
2, but one. Well, I'll admit I'm a side sleeper. I need some extra support, so I've got a pillow for my head, and then I have a body pillow that I curl up with.
Okay, and
My best friend.
here's my last one. It cuts deep.
Okay.
It cuts deep. How old were you when you learned Santa was not real?
This is a little bit of a sad story, Jerry, but I've never believed in Santa.
So you came out of the womb not believing
Yeah, I
in
mean,
Santa.
growing up, it was not enforced that Santa was a real thing.
Uh-huh.
Christmas was not always celebrated fully, and so I learned from a pretty young age that there was no Santa Claus.
Great.
Yeah.
Me too. Anything else?
I got one more for you.
Hit me.
If you could pass along one piece of advice to a physician looking for a job, what might that be?
Be open-minded. There's so many job opportunities out there, and your first choice is not always your right choice. If you talk to professionals, talk to your colleagues, talk to recruiters, find out what the markets are like out there, and really go look for the three things that really motivate folks: location, lifestyle, and money. Find out what's most important to you. Talk to the people that know where to put you in the right direction to find those best opportunities for you that match all three of those categories. Because lots of times your first choice won't have all three. Maybe you just want to move to Chicago, but once you start moving to Chicago, you realize that, holy cow, I'm going to have to be working 55 hours a week, so my lifestyle is going to stink, and holy cow, my income is going to be 25th percentile MGMA, so my money's going to stink, and I'm going to be living in the most expensive city in the Midwest. So there's a lot of things that we could talk to you about that if we move that same job 35 miles into Indiana, you're living like a king or queen. So that would be my biggest piece of advice. Let me throw the same question back to you to end our segment today.
This is something that we've said before, but I think it bears repeating, which is try to be as decisive as possible with what you want to do. And as odd as this might sound, when you're going into an interview, the goal of that interview should be to secure a contract offer. And whether you end up actually taking that job is almost irrelevant, in the sense that you can't fully make that commitment and decide if it's right for you until you've seen what's going to be offered to you and you have the information to make an informed decision. And when I say be decisive, it's just a matter of being clear with what you want. If you like what you see and you feel like there's potential there, do what's in your best interest, ask for the job, and make sure you're in the driver's seat. It's when you don't make your intentions clear that people assume, well, maybe they're not interested and we should move on to other people, where you could miss out on you being the one that chooses, yes, I'm going to accept, or no, I'm not, versus having that choice made for you. So be decisive.
Excellent. Well, I hope you got to know us a little bit better today. It was a really fun session, and we'll be back next week with another edition of Coffee with Curare. We'll talk to you then, and have yourself an enjoyable weekend.